Okay, welcome to the July Solar Chat Zoom, which is really lovely to see everyone. I've got two things that I want to say first of all. We'll come to Stuart in a minute. Um, just wanted to say that it's a bit related actually, because probably Stuart will know Andy Devi. Um, we had a very, very frightening episode on Thursday evening where a wildfire um, flashed through Spain. I woke up in the morning and heard it on the news that 12 people had died in Bedar, and I had an absolute frantic panic about Andy. But thankfully, he replied to our WhatsApp, within minutes to say that he and his wife were safe, and that they had fled to like a neighbouring town of Mahaka, but they didn't know about the state of the house. Um, he has gone back to the house today, this afternoon, and it's absolutely miraculous in the fact that he's showed me a picture. There is it's black everywhere, apart from like 3 meters away from his observatory, all the way around his house. That the trees in his garden, which are near his observatory, absolutely fine. It's like a line. It's just a miracle, really. And everywhere else is just black. So our hearts go out to Andy and Judy at this time, because it must have been the most horrific few days. But, there are still, like 12 deaths and there are still missing people. And because I've stayed with Andy so many times, I know exactly what the environment is like. We heard that, some people were trapped up a dry river valley, and people were saying, why were people going up a dry river valley? Well, when we visit Andy, that's the lovely walk that we always do. And I know exactly where that is. And it's beautiful. It's full of oleanders and it's absolutely beautiful. But now I can see that that could have been us, but it would be a death trap because it is such difficult going as this walk. And we were thinking, what would we do in these circumstances? We'd hide in one of the little caves. And thankfully, that's what these walkers had done. But they've still been badly burned and are in hospital. And so, for me, and Darren, it's just, a frightening thing because we can just think what it would be like. So, but, for this work experience next week that was going to be doing, Andy was going to be doing the remote telescope access for the week. His observatory is fine. He's got electricity, but he doesn't have internet. So I think, Stuart, tomorrow at lunchtime, when they were supposed to be doing, after you'd done that talk, I think you were supposed to be doing remote access. I don't think it'll probably be with Andy. I suspect that it will be with Flo,
Yeah,
and their
Grant's
remote
gonna.
telescope in Spain.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a change to the program for
Hmm.
that. Um, Pardon?
Alexandra, did you know that he was on Sky News on an interview?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've recorded it and
Oh,
I've
okay.
put it on
Okay.
Facebook.
Yeah, I didn't know
So
if you knew or not, but I just sent it to you in Messenger, but I noticed it earlier today.
yeah,
He came across very well, very
he
articulate.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I was over earlier in the year for a few days to stay with them, and yeah, it's and he showed me the terrain out there and everything, and where they had cleared. So everything they had done is what they'd done just enough to be able to save the house. So
Mm.
yeah, incredible.
So
Mm.
moving on from that, at least he's safe. The house is safe. Everything's happy-ish. We'll move on to Stuart because I think Stuart, you're going to give a little introduction, a little practice for your talk tomorrow, and tell us all about the subject that we are going to talk about tonight, which is like processing
Yeah,
and the mysteries of sharpening, because quite often we see on the forum people completely over sharpen and completely lose a lot of detail. We know that they must have, amazing detail because we know what scopes they've got, but it's all to do with the processing. If you process wrong, you just don't see your detail. And it is a bit of a mystery. So if you wanted to do that little section, that would be
yeah. So I'm actually doing two talks. One is the sun itself. So the structure, core, radiative zone, convection zone, photosphere, chromosphere, and then the corona. So we'll go through all that. And my aim is to show that it's very different depending on the wavelength of light that you observe with. So I've got quite a few images that show that situation, and so that's largely one talk, really going through the sun. The second talk is more focused on how we actually do these observations. What's important when we do when we're thinking about taking images of the sun. What type of an image? Are we doing a full disk or high resolution? What types of scopes are available? How do you use them? Think about the conditions, the seeing conditions, the focal length of the scope, and the aperture, and the effects of the aperture, the relationship of aperture and resolution. So talk a little bit about resolution and so on. And that we use a video camera to capture images, and then we basically go through the process of capturing images, stacking images, and then deconvolution, sharpening, and then a bit of coloring if you want to do some coloring, sort of thing. So those are the two talks, and then the students will do some observations of their own. As you say, Alexandra, through Flow this time. I've also said I'm available should the connection not work, or should there be issues in Spain. I mean, there's going to be a lot of smoke around in I don't know which regions Flow are operating, but it could be cloudy or whatever. And if we've got sunshine here, then I could be available to set up the scope and run some live views. In any case, the students will be expected to process some images. They're going to have access to ImPPG, also stacked at ImPPG, and probably, I don't know about Photoshop, but GIMP probably, just to add a bit of color if you want to do that. So what we were talking about before was, what are we? This one. So hopefully you can see a screen there with AutoStack, and that's a white light. Well, it's an SCR file which I've loaded into AutoStack, and I'll be talking about some of the settings. I don't use Drizzle. I don't know if anybody on the call uses Drizzle. I've tried it, but I've never found it to.
No, I'm not quite sure what the point of that is.
Well, it just sort of it takes away to a degree the pixelation for the processing. So when you zoom in, you'll see pixels. Well, if you drizzle, they disappear to a degree, depending on the amount of drizzle, whether it's 1.5 or 3. Anyway, so I'll go through some of this, and then the fact that we first do an analysis, we apply alignment points. Now I use 32 or 48. I just switch between the two. I don't know what other people use. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I
I,
use about 32 to 48.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was wondering what you think. I know it's different on mine to yours. You've got an automatic tick that the noise robust. I always have that set on 4, but if you actually change it to like 3 or 5, you do get differing amounts of detail in your final image between it. And I found that, I don't know, it's does make a difference.
Right.
Notice that um, you seem to have just a button automatic, which may be a new feature that I don't have.
Right. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you, do you,
I haven't really played around with that, to be perfectly honest.
Because
I,
I've done images on 3 and 5 and noticed a huge difference
Right.
between um, the amount of detail that I get, particularly in high resolution images. I think that I was getting 5 was getting a better image.
Okay. Something to try then.
Don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, apply the alignment point grid and then stack the image. So this is an stacked output. So taking the best bits from the images and putting them together to create this image, taking away the effects of seeing. And then we get into ImPPG, deconvolution, and sharpening. So I don't know what other people do, but I use these functions. I've got a set of, or I've got a set of presets for the different types of images that I create, and that
I
just gets me.
didn't know you could do that.
yeah. Yeah, you can
Yeah, so you
save it.
can load and save settings under here.
All right.
So this particular setting is what I call white light. It's my Take 125 with my 1920 Basler camera and a 5 times power mate. So I use Sigma 1.45, 50 iterations, 2.3 on that one, and the amount 1.3. And then that's the difference it makes with and without these parameters. So I wouldn't say that these settings work every single time because there's sometimes some variability with the quality of the image. So I turn these up or down depending on how it looks, and I just judge by eye. You know, do I get a much better image, or does it start to go off if I over process, and then I just dial it back a bit.
And what do you look for when you say you've gone too far?
So on white light images like this, you start to see little black dots in the granules, which is an indication that it's being over processed. I try to get some nice fibrils in the penumbra. You can see the difference there. So I just adjust the settings up and down a bit, and get something that I feel comfortable with, and then just process the whole image under those settings.
Question. When, and I saw Philip talking about, and the question about kernels
Yeah.
as to any of these sliders, are we adjusting anything based on a kernel? Because I'm still trying to process what is that?
Yeah. So
Is that the Sigma size? Or is that for the
That's what I
Lucy
wondered.
Richardson deconvolution? Or is that the unsharp masking Sigma size?
yes. So Lucy Richardson or Richardson Lucy, depending on which way around you want to say it, same thing. So my understanding of that is the application tries to guess what the sharpest image or a sharper image should be, and then it applies some mathematics to try to get towards that sharper image. And these parameters just adjust the values that are applied. and then obviously it's us as the user who, we look at the images, no, that's not right. So we adjust the parameters, and that goes through the mathematical routines again, trying to optimize. And that's why you go through these iterations, like 50 iterations, keeps going round and round and round, just trying to optimize to get to a better image. But it's you as the operator who judges whether it is a better image or not, and then you adjust the parameters accordingly.
Yeah, the way I understand it is that the kernel uses a matrix of pixels around the pixel to determine how much that matrix influences the central pixel when sharpening.
Yeah, I think that's on sharpening, isn't it, Stephen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that not what he was asking?
So my understanding of the sharpening,
you can expand the size of the matrix to be 4x4 or 8x8 or whatever you want.
Yeah.
That influences the central pixel's sharpness mathematically.
That's right. So my understanding is, imagine you want to image a checkerboard. You've got a chessboard. You take a photograph of it, and if it's a perfectly sharp photograph, you'll see the black and white squares with perfectly sharp edges. But if you have a blurred image, an out of focus image, then those edges become less sharp, less distinct. So there's a bit of bleeding from the black into the white. So you get more of a gray transition. So if you plotted the intensity, you're going from white through this gray into black. And you get if you're looking at points of light rather than a checkerboard, you sort of get like a distribution, Gaussian distribution. So I think sigma changes the shape of that Gaussian distribution, and then the amount is related to how the image is processed to try to separate out those black and white edges. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, I think Philip made in the form, he showed that Gaussian change for different kernel sizes, and went from very, very narrow to wider as to, I guess, how it was selecting the pixels to work with. That it was much wider with a larger kernel than with a smaller kernel.
That's right.
Okay.
But
that's what the kernel is the size of the matrix used.
Size of the matrix that it's looking at.
And it's all pixel math.
Which I don't understand in PI anyway. So
it's all just varies the variables in the pixel math algorithm that's applied to the image. And they have to find some name for a mathematical function. And they're running out of names that are very descriptive. So kernel it is.
Yeah.
And that's just the size of the tensor or the size of the matrix that's used in the algorithm.
But I find with the higher the resolution of your image, if you use a really high F number to get your image, that sigma in the Lucy Richardson has to be much larger than if you have a lower res, a low res image. That sigma needs to be much, much smaller.
I was going to ask that of Stuart because the numbers on here for this white light are pretty low.
Yes.
Compared to what I find on HA when I'm zoomed in. That sigma would be closer. Well, the sigma might be the same, but the amount I would say would be at least double that. 1.3 would be closer to 3.6, something like that.
Yeah, it depends on the quality of the image and all the rest of it. But I mean, mine are all sort of around these values. I don't tend to go too much higher. And if you do go too high, you start to see artifacts.
Right.
Image.
Yeah, when Alexander asked about artifacts, I was going to say in the chromosphere, you start to see the worms forming, the little black worms start popping up.
Another issue with this is that every different software package has a different name for this variable. And
Right.
if you've ever used Smart Sharpen in Photoshop, this variable is called pixel size in Smart Sharpen, and it's called something else in PixInsight, and it's even called several different things within different PixInsight processes.
Yeah.
So there's no standardization of, it's called Sigma here, but Sigma is just, that's just a variable. That's just a letter for, it could be called alpha as far as this program is concerned. I mean, Sigma
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the actual reality of the variable. So
Yeah, they're just mathematical functions. You just
yes,
adjusting
just a
the
mathematical
parameters.
function.
But as you say, it's all about this Gaussian distribution and how wide and narrow it is and how tall and short it is, relative to the contrast that you're trying to create.
Pixel math is fascinating in all this processing, and I've been taking a course recently along with some advanced calculus, and one of the lessons was concerning pixel math and the algorithms used in pixel math. It didn't do anything for my processing yet, but it was absolutely fascinating to see how this array of numbers is an image and how the relating cells around a central number and the different
I have a question.
differentiations is absolutely amazing.
What's that little box at the bottom, adaptive?
Yeah. So if you've got an image with, let's say you've got some prominences, you can basically adapt it so that you can make the prominences stand out a little bit more against the disk and so on. It's more for high contrast images, is my understanding.
Yeah. I haven't tried that. I've played with a little bit, but I've never tried. When I do when I've got prominences, that's when I always go to Photoshop and use the Camera Raw to do shadows because it makes more sense to me than trying it on here, but I haven't really played with it that much on ImPPG.
Yeah, I just use PixInsight and the Solar Toolbox on PixInsight, and
Yeah.
that can pull out the prominences really quite nicely.
Thank you, Stu.
So, we then end up with a final image after all that processing. So this is really just to show the students the difference between a single frame video, it's quite blurry in places and patchy. Stacked images, you get a better result, and then deconvolution and sharpening really starts to bring out some of the detail. And then we can add color either in Photoshop or GIMP. This is intended to show a G-band image. It's a bit purple. It should have been a bit bluer, but never mind. So that's basically it, and I'd just say, you choose your wavelength, decide on your image scale, whether it's a full disc or closer view. You optimize your telescope, your Barlow, your camera arrangement, etc. You capture some video, stack the images, apply these processes, and then you can refine by adding color if you want, or brightening, sharpening, whatever. And add color there. That's about it, really. That's the last slide. Yeah.
Question for you, Stu.
I've,
Just on that segment value, if you wouldn't mind going back to that for a second, please.
Sorry, I can't.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Just about, yeah.
Okay. That sigma value, is that sensitive to quality and number of stacks? Is it a combination, or like if you had a small number of images stacked but high quality, or what's the optimum formula?
Yeah.
Magic sauce, I suppose, here to and in terms of the stacking, and then to get to pick a correct sigma number.
Yes. So for me, it's a bit of iteration. So I start with these presets. I do a drop down from there, select the preset for what type of image it is. In this case, white light, at certain image scale and so on. And then I usually do a little box. So it speeds up the process, and then just click these up and down a bit and these up and down a bit, just until I get the best image from my point of view, without without introducing artifacts, and then I just process at that.
Okay.
So very iterative and, empirical.
Mm-hmm.
I found
But
it
as you
helpful.
say, it does vary depending on the quality of the starting image. If you start with a really, really good image, or if you started with something like this, then you probably apply very little additional
Mm-hmm.
processing. But if you start with an image like this, then obviously it needs a bit of attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really obvious when you do animations and you've got 350 images of basically the same area. And
Yeah,
I have to go through certain ones to find a process that works well with most of the frames, because you'll be amazed sometimes how much sharper one image will be from another, just because the variation of seeing during the captures. And you can see that in the animation. You'll see the image all of a sudden get really sharp and then get fuzzy and go back again.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Which is the reality of it, right?
Yeah,
And
there's not much you can do about it.
because I've
Except,
always found people over sharpen, and there's no
yeah,
solid objects on the sun. There's nothing
yeah.
solid to sharpen, so there shouldn't be any perfectly straight lines of any kind in your image. But people, they're used to doing the moon and stuff, and
Yeah.
that's the over sharpening.
Some of those surge spikes get pretty sharp, but other than that, most of it's pretty soft.
Yeah, and it's obvious to us when it's been
Yeah.
over sharpened, but it's not
Oh
so
yeah.
obvious to somebody new that's doing it because they're used to looking at the moon or planets, and the sharper the better.
And of course, automatically all the newbies, they just invert everything because
yeah,
that's invert it, color it, and there we go.
yeah. Well, I mean, inverted images do have a
Yeah.
character of their own, and they can look pretty impressive. But well, as somebody said, you wouldn't invert a deep sky image, would you? You know?
Well, the ones that drive me nuts is where here's a flare and it's black, and you're
Yeah,
Yeah,
going,
I
yeah,
don't understand that
I,
because
I it's they watch a certain person's videos, and all those images are inverted,
yeah,
and they learn from that and they go with that. And of course, you're being a bad guy when you say, "Hey, could we see a non-inverted image?" They
yes,
say, "Well, that's fine. You like it? Just I'd like to see a flare that's bright,
yeah, that's
because
right.
they are bright. They're
Yeah,
not black."
mm,
yeah. Sunspot, I think, is black,
Yeah,
not
yeah, not white.
because you've got to remember that the sun, particularly in hydrogen alpha, is all about temperature.
Right.
So if it's dark, it's cooler
Right.
than the other feature. So what you start to do is you start to lose the features of the sun. You know that a filament should be black because it's cooler than the actual surface, but when it moves onto the black of space, it suddenly becomes bright because it's hotter than the black space. And it starts to fry your brain when it's not that right way
Well,
round.
it's also not gray, and it's not grayscale either. The problem is that you can't represent the actual color that we're looking at
No.
two-dimensionally because you don't see any details. So
Right.
inverting it or showing it what it looks like from a monochrome camera to me is about the same amount of distortion. I mean, the point is to show the features.
Yeah. Now
If we
that
were showing reality of 656.28 nanometers, it's impossible to do it two-dimensionally and show any detail.
Yeah.
So hence the
Uh,
various presentation methods.
Do
I
it.
was,
Can you stop sharing and then
yeah.
I was going to say the one areas I always like to invert is, and Alexandra coined this one, the solar slugs, the filaments near the edge. I love those inverted because they just look amazing
Yeah.
they
that
do?
way. So those I will invert at times, but
Alan Friedman put out the first well-seen inverted
right.
solar H alpha image, and he and I worked on that together. And he was very concerned about the same thing, that the sunspots were black or
Yeah.
white, and he didn't like that, and he just could not find any reasonable way in which to he's probably one of the most artistic people that's ever been in the hobby. That was a concern from the very start. But it's
Yeah,
also
and
not
Mark,
monochrome. I mean, it is
yeah,
monochrome, but it's not monochrome black and white. So
right.
what do you do? You know,
And Mark Johnston is, his videos are basically what all the new folks watch, and it's pretty much all inverted. So that's where a lot of it comes from.
Simon Tang puts out a bunch of animations that aren't inverted and they're orange, but
Right.
you just can't see red very well 2 dimensional. Most people.
Have you seen, you guys, that Mike Johnson has got his book out?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that Bob Yosel was asked to edit one of the chapters, and he told him he's got some inaccuracies, and Mark stopped talking to him. So,
Get that all the time.
Okay.
but I mean, it's from what I saw a sample of it. There's some good information, but again, it was similar to an article he did for astronomy. Every image on there describing how the sun looked in H alpha was inverted.
Oh,
And I wrote a letter to the editor of astronomy, and I said, it's a great article, describing the history, but let's show them what it actually looks like. So I sent them one of the colorized where it's red, and they at least posted it. And it's really tiny. It's, just for, truthful sake, it's not orange, it's not yellow, it's red when you look at it. That was kind of disappointing that there wasn't one picture that was not inverted on it.
well,
I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, I'm with you. The APOD crowd is live and well in solar also. There's people
Oh,
whose
good Lord,
motivation
yeah.
is to get attention and get listed and get likes and then sell their prints. And we all know these guys. I've never cared a bit about any of that. And most
Yeah.
of you, I don't think, care too much about it either because the work stands for itself. If I see an image that Warren Sprang just put out, I know it's Warren's because I know the way he does his images and I appreciate them and they're beautiful. I don't care if I ever get an APOD or any of that
Right.
stuff. I don't even know how to submit or whatever, but
Okay.
those people's motivations are different than ours and more power to them. They can do whatever they
Yeah,
want.
Christian and I actually worked on a couple of images that had been going around, and it was described as being able to go through fog and stuff like that and sharpen things. And I took a look at the image and I went right to what's the one plug-in for Topaz, and they have a electrifying Topaz filter.
There it is.
And I took one of my images, I ran it through that and matched this guy's picture. Christian said, "Can I use that in my next book?" I said, "Sure." Put it, here's what it really looks like. Here it is after putting it in that filter. And it makes, it's impressive because it makes the spicules look super sharp, but it's like totally false.
Alan Friedman back in the day, this is 20 years ago, he could make the image without any data. He didn't need a telescope. He just could draw it in Photoshop. And he showed me several times how easy this is to do without any telescope. And he's really good at it. It's everybody's personal taste. And what can you say? That's one of the reasons I love that SHG 700 so much when I use it is because it just does such a beautiful image right off without any processing and no one's twist on what it should look like. It's just, well, except for Cedric's and kind of standardized imaging there. But yeah, this is an argument that's going to be around forever. And, I used to get on Facebook and point out the fake Saturn transit of the ISS or whatever, but there's no future in that either, man, because you just look like you're an angry asshole, which I probably am. When you point out people's fakery, it doesn't do any good to anything. It doesn't do any good for the hobby. It doesn't do any good for you. And the people don't care because they're still selling their prints of their fake Saturn transit. It's one of those things. I say put out your solar image the way you think it looks good, and that's that.
Yeah, I tell people, do what you like because they're your pictures. if I don't agree with them, that's fine. But I'm not going to slam somebody to say, typically if I'm trying to make any kind of comments, it's on their tuning. How can they can improve on
Right,
that? Because
right,
it
right.
just amazes me the number of people that throw up an image and I say, I think this is pretty good. And, half the sun is off band.
Yeah.
And you want to go, well, move it over a little bit or, tune it some. And some get it, some don't or don't care.
It's
I
all on
don't
how you
know.
word it too. Facebook is
Oh,
the
yeah.
king of one word comments.
Yep.
That's not a flare, and then they move on.
Yeah.
If you're friendly about it, I mean, these people are trying to get into the crew.
Yeah.
And they want to do good. It's social media has changed a lot of stuff. Man.
So I was wondering if I could just share my screen, and I've got ImPEG with a picture on it, and we can
Sure.
just sort of like go through it and see um how it's done.
Well, you do excellent processing, Alexander. So
Well,
show me anything.
right. So this is something that I took yesterday with the solar spectrum on the Tech 140. So it's not 140, it would be about 120 millimeters because I have to I've got an ERF at the front. So it's smaller. It's like I think it's about a 130, but once you've put like the ring on it, it's gone down in, I think, to about 120 or 125 millimeters. So I draw a box on there so that you can see where the sunspot is. And certainly I notice this a lot is people skew the contrast so much on their images that these sunspots become completely and utterly black with no detail in it at all. I think that people must remember that these aren't black holes. There are details in them, and you can see that this is clearly not black. It is sort of like you can see varying amounts of grey in here, which means that there are umbral details in it. And I don't think that we should sacrifice the contrast on this side to the contrast actually in the umbra because we're losing information. And if you're losing information, then you're losing half your picture. And we don't want to do that. Now, what's funny with this, and other people have commented to me before, it's like, why do you change the iterations? Well, I tend to do more iterations, but a lower sigma, because I find that you get more detail that way. I don't tend to use the unsharp masking. So the first thing I tend to do is to get rid of it and get it down to its minimum. And I've just found that I just get more detail that way. And I don't know whether that's right or whether it's wrong. But if we, for instance, do 50 iterations and then we try and bring this up, if it's going to allow me, or is it going to be very, very slow? I don't know whether people can see that changing. Now, if you ramp it right up, you
Yep.
can see that you start to get these, it becomes very black, white, this very stripy, flat looking appearance. And so if anything looks flat, I think you know that you've over sharpened because usually the sun is more 3D and like flowing and more feathery. Um, so if we bring this down again, it's going to do it. Right. And we bring it down. So I'm now at 1.5. You can see that you can see the penumbral details, and these have gone less black and white. But if you then go to say 500 iterations, what you'll find is you can then come down in this and you'll get more detail. I don't think it's actually working very well. I think Zoom is like crushing
You
my
just type in a
computer.
value.
I don't know. Just wanted to try and show it in real time.
Mm.
Might be easier to do this on a Heliostar one, to be honest. But so if you've got so you've got more iterations but a smaller amount, you start to see these details in here. So if I now change that back to 550, can we see the difference, or is this just not showing anything?
Still looks,
So yeah, I think what I might do actually is get a Heliostar image and see whether that improves it. So if I go, because it's of a smaller, right, so look for, yeah, 9, 8. So that'll be 9, 6. Is that the right one? Okay. So if we, hmm, got to move you guys out of the way. Right. Right. Now we're going to get down to it. Because I think that actually this might just show it a little bit better. So if we move down to a sunspot region here. Right, what you can see straight away, 50 and 1.7, that's awful.
right.
You agree?
You're
Yeah.
you're over
Um,
sharpened.
Yeah, definitely. Because what you're seeing is like what you say, Warren, these little worms.
Right.
So you're getting a very sharp black, white in strange lines. So if we bring this right back down, okay, and if we also zoom in a little bit better so that you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so this is like 1, but at 50. If we go to 500, is this going to change or is it not?
I can see that.
How
Yeah,
long?
so now
Yeah.
it's at 1.1, it looks over sharpened,
Mm.
but now we can bring it right down to even 0.9, and you can see even that.
That's interesting. I've never tried doing it that way.
So now I've gone down to like virtually 0.8,
Mm.
and you can see more detail in like the penumbra and everything like that, and it looks more feathery. Whereas if we go down to 50, if it'll work, you just get, you have to go higher up, but you get more gross details.
Mm.
Do you
Was
see
it
what I
do it
mean?
5,000?
Yeah.
I don't think that you can do 5,000 actually. I think there is a, mm,
Oh,
there is. I've never, oh no, it swaps back to
Ah,
500.
okay.
So that is that why I've done 500 because that seems to be the maximum that it can do. But I think if you play around with this, you'll see that you can get away with much less sigma, but you get more feathery detail.
I'll have to try that one.
Yeah.
You're
Um,
so you're using Lucy Richardson only, basically.
yes. But what happens then if you whack in a bit of this? I think it's that I don't understand the difference between the two. Are you supposed to use them both together? You see, now I'm putting that unsharp mask in, I'm finding that the details are starting to be lost,
Yeah, that's interesting.
you see. And it's now going more what I would class as over sharpening. But I don't know whether they have a relationship between the two, that if you have more unsharp masking, you should do less Lucy Richardson, or vice versa, or whether you should use different
That's
amounts of each.
that's how I understand it. That if you use the unsharp masking, you can basically disable the Lucy Richardson and try it that way.
What, so you're supposed to just get rid of this altogether?
Just hit disable
Where's disable? Oh,
right,
there.
right
Oh, I
there.
see.
So if you disable, then you're only using the unsharp mask, and it's a whole different ball game then.
Yeah, see, it's not doing anything
Now
but
bring up your amount.
mount. Yes,
That's where it makes the change.
but that's giving a very
Chopped
um
up.
yes, it's doing like to me it looks like it's doing the large details,
Right.
whereas the Lucy Richardson is doing the small details.
That's interesting.
So, if that be the case, then if you had very high resolution image with very large details, then you will probably be better off not using the Lucy Richardson deconvolution, but using more of the unsharp masking for the large details.
And
But if
I,
you have a low resolution image like from the Heliostar, you want to use the Lucy Richardson then to get the fine details.
yeah, that's what I found on the higher res that I do, that I'm usually playing more with the unsharp masking than the Lucy
Because
Richardson.
yeah, this is just giving you very large details, so you don't want that for something like the Heliostar, do you?
That kind of goes along with what Stuart was showing because his Lucy Richardson was pretty low, but it kept his sigma and the amount fairly low also on that
Yeah.
image he was showing.
So if we
Yeah.
set this back.
Well, now you got me going to look at that Lucy Richardson more for my full disc. I always wonder how you got such a feathery look to that disc. And I'm going, it's the same telescope.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it is all to do with the sharpening. So now I've got rid of this unsharp masking, but I'm at 50, but 1.3. If I now change this to 500, see immediately it's over sharpening.
Yeah.
And you have to drop right back. And then you can drop back even further if you want.
See, I got playing around with image I did yesterday, and if I change the iterations up to 500 and drop the sigma, the whole image gets a real, I can't describe it. It looks salt. It's not salt and pepper. It's almost like a white spotty effect to it. And
Huh.
as soon as I drop the iterations back and drag the sigma higher, it's back to what I'm traditionally used to. So it may have a lot to do with the basic
Noise.
image data, like the image
Yeah.
itself, different scope, different captures, different seeing, and what works.
And I
You
think
could
different
you could take
cameras as
10
well.
you could take 10 Heliostar images, but taken by 10 different people, and you probably have 9.5 different ideal processes.
Yeah, I guess it also comes down to what I was looking on astronomy tools because some people were asking about cameras for certain scopes, and I always go to astronomy tools, put their scope in, what camera they're looking at to see what the optimal resolution. And I was surprised on the Heliostar 76 that the optimal resolution's fairly low, like what was it? 2.7 something like that. Instead of arc seconds, it was arc minutes, which kind of surprised me. So we're going to see a lot of variation depending upon the pixel pitch, everything.
So yeah, it can make. I think that fiddling around with this can make a huge difference, and I think that a lot of people will stick on the 50, but whack this up.
I'm going to play with it
Um,
now.
Yeah.
and
Why
you
not?
end up with very hard looking detail. I also, yeah, I think I've closed that down actually. Let's
So
go again.
Alexandra,
Mm,
if you go to the ribbon at the top,
yeah.
yeah, keep
Mm-hmm.
going. There, that's it. So those save the one you're on saves process settings, and
Mm-hmm.
the other one next to it on the right, you load process settings.
Oh,
So
right.
if this were optimal now for this particular scope and this type of image, you can save that and you call it whatever you want to call it. And then next time you're processing this type of image, you just load those settings in from your presets.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes, I have done that before. You know, when you're doing
Go to
setting,
file.
yeah.
If
Is
you
it
go to
file? Oh,
file, you
yes,
see,
save
yeah,
processing settings.
yeah,
And then if you're doing an animation, then when you go to the, what is it? Um, can't find it.
batch
Batch
under
processing,
batch.
that's
Yeah.
it. Um, then you can apply that setting, but I've never thought to do um preset settings for every image because I find that they change so much between session. Um,
Yeah, I just use it to get close to what I think it should be, and then I still have to
Yeah.
tweak around a
yeah.
little bit. Because as you say, that the conditions change a little bit and whatever.
Mm.
So there's still a bit of tweaking to do, but the settings are quite different for a calcium full disk image versus a hydrogen alpha
Oh,
versus
yeah.
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I don't want to start from ground zero for each one, so I just click on the preset for that type of image, and it gets me within certain
And I
range
think
where I need to
and I
be.
think for like different setups as well, like what
Yeah,
Brian
yeah,
was saying,
Yeah.
yeah,
different cameras. If I use my
yeah, exactly.
Zoom ASI 174, I get terribly noisy pictures, and I find that I can hardly do any sharpening at all on that before like you get those little dots all
Mm.
the time. And it's incredibly frustrating. Whereas if I use the grasshopper or the player one, um, Uranus, I find that it's so smooth that you can do a huge amount of sharpening, and it still stays smooth, and you don't get those horrible little artifacts and dots.
Yeah,
Well, that 174 has such bigger pixels
It does,
than the Uranus does.
yes. But then I think my grasshopper is like, I think 4.5, and I think the ASI is 5. So it's not
Something
that
like
much difference, but
that. That brought
the,
up a question. When you're doing high res, I see people using very large pixels. Like in Christian's, he's using large pixels for his very close up, and then they go for smaller pixels for like full disk. Is that typical? I'm assuming.
is that
Ironic.
because of the large details?
And so when you're going in really, really high res, you want the large pixels,
That's what
Yes,
I
for the
do.
large details.
I
which
think
is why.
the large pixels are the pixel sizes are related to the effective focal length to get the resolution you want. So
Okay.
with my Daystar on like with a 2, 3, 4, 5,000 millimeter focal length, if I use a 2 micron pixel camera, it's being oversampled 1,000 times, whereas the ASI 432 with 9 micron
Nine,
pixels
nine. Okay.
gets you into the ballpark that you want. It also has a fraction of the number of pixels to download, so the download speed is considerably better too.
Yeah.
And really, it's a 174
Okay.
chip bin once, but then kind of 4 times the size. So it's like the 174 I use occasionally, but I use the 290 for short focal length high resolution, the 432 for long focal length high resolution. And sometimes I just put a camera on and wing it.
But does it really matter if you um, oversample? Because obviously, if you undersample, then when you zoom in, all you see is pixels and you've just lost all your detail and you can't see any detail in the sunspot or anything. But if you oversample, does it really matter?
I
I
think it
think you
depends
maybe
how
just
much oversample.
yeah.
Sorry, somebody else speaking.
What will it do to the image?
you'd be more sharpening the noise than anything else, I suspect. So a larger pixel would tend to be cleaner because you're getting more signal relative to noise. So if you start my understanding is that if you start sharpening it, you've oversampled and then you have too much noise coming into your image. It's all about getting that balance right.
But night, you also get bloated stars really bad
Yeah,
if you
you do.
oversample
Yeah.
and your image is really mushy. It seems like it would be better to have an oversampled image, but in reality, in astrophotography, it has a very negative effect on the nighttime images.
So it's bleeding into other pixels, Stephen. When you're
I think
oversampling,
you're
you're
getting
Seems
so
to
many
be.
gradual changes on every star that I don't know. I'd have to look at the map.
I've heard of bleeding, I've heard of it bleeding into pixels when you're
Yeah.
doing DSO. And that's where you get your bloated stars, and you don't want that.
I
I
think
didn't
it
know
could
if
probably be
that,
compensated with by processing it in 64-bit instead of
right.
8-bit. But who's going to do that?
Yeah.
That's the problem. It actually amplifies a lot of atmospheric turbulence. Also, if you oversample a night image, I don't know about a day image because I don't have any camera that will oversample anything. But that's the problems at night. It has a strongly derogatory effect, detrimental effect on your images at night if you oversample.
So there's a calculator. Can I just share my screen again?
Yeah.
No. Oh, where are we? Oh, there. Assume you can see that.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen this calculator?
Yeah, that's the one Marty made, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I've
So
got that one.
yeah, so for different wavelengths, different apertures, focal lengths, and all the rest of it, you can calculate your optimal actual Barlow versus the critical Barlow, as it were, the critical sampling. So I'm usually a little bit over sampled. I've got some optimal, but I don't undersample, and some are reasonably quite oversampled, but it doesn't seem to harm things too much. I'd rather be over than undersampled.
Right.
Definitely.
You're speaking about solar and solar.
Is that, I was going to say, is that live, Stuart? Can you put the Helios star figures in there?
Sure, yeah. Where are we?
The issue, like, as I understand it, slightly oversampling is fine, but obviously if you went like 10 times oversampling, then
Right.
that's where you'll see issues.
Yeah.
All the sissy
Because
nighttime guys swear
Just
by
bear
it.
with me
They
1
won't.
second. Just open that again.
Because if you will get moments of very good seeing, so that's where while your average might be one value, you'll get you want the best images you want where the resolution is better.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So for hydrogen alpha,
Yeah. So 76 aperture.
okay, I'll put it in that one. 76.
Yeah. And let's see, what's the pixel on the Uranus, Alexandra? Is that 2.2.9?
Yeah, it's 2 point.
2.9.
Oh, is it 2.9?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the
Focal
focal
length?
length?
About 800, isn't it?
Can't remember.
Well, the focal, it's an f8, which would be,
630 millimeters.
thank you.
It's f
630.
8.3 actually.
Yeah, 8.3.
These numbers correct then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So critical
F10,
Barlow.
okay. F11 is about, that fits because when I usually do my close-ups, I put on that 1.5 Barlow. Oh, that's it.
Yeah. So
A little oversampled.
yeah, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
what are you actually seeing to see what is the correct and what is... I don't quite understand those numbers.
So the critical, if you used a Barlow of 1.3,
What?
that would be optimal. Okay, so if you use,
Oh, what? So the number above is 1.3 is the
yeah, so the,
critical.
Critical, yeah.
yeah, so
Oh,
that's
so it's
so
automatically generated that figure.
correct.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ah, right, I
So if,
see.
But
so if
what's
you put a
driving that number?
2.5, it's, well over, well over sampled. But, I've got a 1.6, then I use a 2.5. Sometimes I've got a 1.5, put that on. But, if you use, um, well,
Say,
if you don't have a Barlow on,
right,
it's undersampled.
undersampled slightly.
Yeah.
With
Okay.
that camera.
Right, with that camera.
Yeah, with that camera. So if you change your pixels, so 5.86, for example,
That's
and
the 174, isn't it?
yeah. So if you put a Barlow on of, let's say, 2.5, you're pretty close to optimal sampling.
Yeah, I usually do a 3 with my 174.
Yeah.
And what are you considering optimal? What number is built into that formula for critical Barlow?
So my optimals, I just put those in by hand. I can do the under and the over, but when it comes to optimal, I just look at the difference here, and it's like, yeah, that's close enough. Yeah.
What resolution are you expecting to get, I suppose?
So resolution, we can put the numbers in here. 72, isn't it? It depends on the current scene conditions, but
uh,
2.29. So
okay,
if you put 2.29 in there, that comes out as 72. Yeah. So that's your limitation on angular resolution, 2.29 arc seconds.
I gotta go back to that sheet. I forgot I had that.
Yeah, it's quite handy. I mean, as I say, I've got it all set out for all the various combinations that I.
Yeah, I talked to Marty a few months ago, said, "Where are you?" He said he just was getting burnt out from being on all the forums and everything like that. And
Right.
says, I'm back to just having fun now.
Yeah.
I said, we miss you.
Yeah, it's a good guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. I'll stop sharing that.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
That was useful.
So we got the right camera, Alexandra.
Well, it does seem to be, I think, but I've tried it with the 1.5 and I find that I just get mush
Well, you
out
need,
of it.
do you use the nose piece or the whole Barlow?
It's a nose piece Barlow.
And
But
you get mush?
I just get mush. So I just stick with one times and nothing else. Maybe my Barlow is not very good for
Yeah.
it. I
Well,
don't
It
maybe
know.
may also be if you're on the oversampling side and the scene's not good, that
right.
just makes mush. So if you're getting mush with a Barlow, take the Barlow out or go to a shorter or lower magnification
Hmm.
Barlow.
Yeah, those latest animations I did that were so sharp, that was with the 1.5, but the seeing was unbelievable under
Ah,
that heat dome. I mean, it was the image on the computer didn't change when I was watching it.
mm.
Go.
Oh. Has anybody got any further questions or
Yeah.
should we end?
I want to know why Martin has got so many guitars.
I was going to ask that too. What band were you in, Martin?
I've been doing it for about 40 years, all different types of bands.
Right.
Wow.
I just can't get rid of the guitars at the end of it.
So which is your favorite?
I prefer Telecasters myself.
Me too. Yep.
They are the most basic guitar, but they got it right the first time when they made them.
Yeah.
Good weight. Very nice weight to hold when you're playing also.
Do we have
Right.
time to just bring up another topic, if that's all right?
If it's a short one.
Yeah. I picked up an Antlia module. I don't know if you can actually see the print.
Is that the calcium?
No, that's just a dual band HA and calcium,
Oh,
but
Oh,
it's very basic. All it consists of is a dual band ERF and an ND-free filter in the end of it. And you get some brilliant white light pictures.
huh.
so
And
it's not hydrogen alpha and it's not calcium K, but
no,
it
it's
gives
just
you
our dual
white
band
light.
ERF.
Ah, right, I see.
That's an Antlia filter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have modified it a bit because the ND-free is a bit too harsh. So I've changed that to an ND.9 and I use a filter from a PST, the blocking filter. If I can just share my screen,
Yeah, sure.
this is what I get.
I'm just shocked that you modified something.
Oh, hang on, how do I share my screen?
Bottom
Okay,
button.
this one. Okay, that's a prominence from yesterday afternoon.
Ooh, okay.
Right.
With that, it's not even been sharpened. It's just a straight stack.
And that's from a white light?
Yeah, with an HA filter from a PST, the blocking filter.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right.
But no Ettalon.
No Ettalon at all, no.
Huh.
Wow.
Oh,
I'll have to do a post on Solarchat and just share how I do it.
Yeah.
gosh.
That'd
So
be
you've just
interesting.
created a prominence filter then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
more or less, yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
It picks up how do I say it? Surface details as well.
Hmm.
You know, we get the element bombs, you can start to pick them up. I think you're in
Mhm.
extreme blue wing at the H alpha
Mhm.
wavelength.
Yeah,
Gosh.
somebody posted a picture animation, the far blue wing of a eruption. It looked like a white light, but you could see
Yeah, yeah, it's
it
brilliant.
was amazing.
Mm.
Wow. I'd like to know more
Forget who
about that,
took
Mark.
I forget
Beg your
who
pardon,
shot
Stephen?
that one.
Thousand Oaks used to make what they called a prominence filter like that. Uh, I'd be really interested to see what's in that little thing.
Huh.
I'd also be interested to see your Gibson custom shop guitars back there if you have any.
Hi, Arnie.
All right.
Sorry about the
Okay.
football, Arnie.
Oh, was that what it is?
No, we played Norway last night.
Oh, yes. Oh, dear. I think he's gone, hasn't he? Right. Okay. So should we finish there?
Awesome meeting.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
Lots of fun.
good,
Thank
good.
you,
Yes.
Alexander, for hosting.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks for coming anyway, and
See
see
everybody
you next
later.
time.
Yeah,
Yes.
cheers,
Thank
everybody.
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.